All right, Palworld. This is a really interesting one to talk about. Do you remember the video I did like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, like my most anticipated games for 2024? I said specifically that there are these big games coming out, but you always got to leave room for these random ones that come out and surprise everyone. And it's only January, and that's Palworld. Palworld, I'm just going to kind of riff in this video. I did the before you buy on Game Ranks, where I got to go into everything. I talk about the systems and stuff like that. I'm going to touch on a lot of that here and some of the controversy, but Palworld is just a fascinating one. It shows a lot, and it shows how you can't predict how things are going to go, because people are all over the place about this one. To some people, the people that made it are like criminals. To other people, if you point that out, how dare you? To some people thinking it's just Pokemon with guns. It's actually a lot more than a Pokemon clone. If you spend time with it, and also like if you've played a lot of other games, you can see that this is a pretty clever, maybe almost blatant jumble of a lot of things. And as much as I have a lot of things to say about the game and some of the issues around it, ultimately, I think Palworld is very fun. Do I think it's like worthy of it being the, like, what is it? The second highest played Steam game ever, paid game, breaking all these records, selling like 6-7 million units over the course of a weekend? No, especially because it's early access. It's just a game that's a work in progress. But it goes to show, like, despite a bunch of issues I'm going to talk about here and there with this game, people wanted a game where you interact more with your Pokemon. That Pocket Monster addiction has addicted since the 1990s. And so if you couple that with the perfect storm of elements of Breath of the Wild and a bunch of other games, and the survival game craze and popularity, this really is a perfect storm for success, and I really don't know why we haven't seen a game like this sooner, to be honest. Like a higher quality, bigger type thing from a bigger publisher. I think ultimately, again, I think Palworld is a lot of fun. I think it's fun, and I also think it's okay to also acknowledge at the same time that the game is junk food. It clearly rips things from other games, and not just like tries to develop on them or expand upon them. Like, it's just like, hey, we have this from this game, we have this from this game. Games have done that in the past, sure. But the way the game does it here, it feels like it gives less of a shit. And a lot of people playing don't give a shit. And I think that's the part you can't predict. Like, this is like a janky, jacked up early access game. It's one of the better ones, especially one based on a survival game. But it's a weird game. And it, to me, in a lot of spots, is kind of soulless. But it is clearly scratching an itch with people. And that's what I've been fascinated about. It's twofold, I guess. Number one, like I said, just a straight up combination of cool, fun things from other games that creates this new addictive package, right? And then the other thing is the Pokemon factor. As much as I said this game is much more than just Pokemon, it's way more of like an arc adventure exploration hybrid type thing. I think there is still that need for some people to have something different that is Pokemon. The Pokemon games have been stale for a while. I don't hate them as much as some people do. I still jump into all of them, but like, it is kind of drying up. Like, so you have this game that takes Pokemon, or like kind of Pokemon, and throws in a bunch of gameplay elements and stuff that people want. Yes, it's not going to be for everybody. Some people think, oh, survival game? Nah, I'm out. Or even early access? Nah, I'll wait. But regardless, it is successful, because even me, I got hooked on this loop. I've seen all the games that this thing has cribbed elements from. And some of those games I'm sick of. I've said this before, I'm not even the biggest survival game fan. I really liked Valheim and like Don't Starve and maybe The Long Dark if I'm in a good mood, but like I'm kind of burnt on this genre, especially the ones that just kind of feel like they were slapped together and thrown on Steam, which at first glance, that's what this looks like. But I think the elements of this game combined are really fun and addictive. I really got hooked once I started building out my little town, my little base, and having farms and having things being produced and having the little Pokepals or whatever. I'm calling them Pokemon because they don't care, so I don't care. You have the little creatures coming to help you and actually using their skills to help you. I just found that to be an element of creativity here, and just seeing all that in motion and then like running out in this massive open world and finding new creatures to catch and battle. I really like that. I also was playing with a friend. I was playing with Andrew, friend of the show, and we both just ended up getting hooked. It was something that like we had kind of hopped on to start diving into, capture footage for game ranks, but then we ultimately dumped way more hours into it than we expected. And I think that's just a testament to like how satisfying it can be, how that base core loop is. The survival elements, the way it gets you into all that, the grinding, the adventuring, the leveling up is very accessible. It's paced pretty well. It's not overly grindy, at least from what I've experienced. And then that core thing really helps make up for the game's shortcomings. The fact that I said it's kind of soulless, and that by that I mean like I'm not really interested in the world or the factions or the characters, anything. There's nothing really there yet. They definitely need to bring in writers, have real NPCs, create a world. There's no like cohesive through line with this. The visual styles, that's my opinion. That's just a matter of taste. It doesn't feel like there's a lot here. And some of that I think is like because of what it chooses to draw from or how hard it draws from. Like you find a new area and almost the exact same font from Breath of the Wild pops up with a little couple of note piano jingle boom boom when you go to a new area. Like, come up with your own thing. It might be a placeholder for later on, you know, it is an early access game, whatever, but like, I just want the game to have its own unique, distinct identity. Where you do see snippets of that are in the creatures themselves, with like some of them having really silly names. Depresso has been a really funny one, and just some of the way they behave on your homestead. That's where the game really feels like it's coming into its own. It's doing its own thing, and I just want to see them double down on that. Also, there's bugs and glitches and unfinished animations and weird UI stuff, early access stuff. So like there are those issues, but the core loop is so interesting and so fun that it makes up for all of it. The sense of freedom, right? To be able to use all of these creatures as your mounts, as your allies, to be able to ride on them, fly on them, anyone you want, not just one that the game developers chose for you, but a bunch of them. And you can also call them out and have them run around with you wherever you want. Whether you're in the field, you can have them battle for you. You can have them gather resources for you. They can kind of be your little slaves on your little animal farm that you create. There's so much freedom there that I think that's what people are loving. And, you know, you go online and there's viral videos of people doing crazy shit in this game already, you know, from a sandbox perspective, to the mods where people are like making actual Pokemon and Digimon mods and putting them in this game, and then immediately getting taken down by Nintendo's lawyers. There's definitely something there. There's something special with this one. And I think for some of us out there, you know, maybe you watching, you know, you read gaming news all the time. You play a lot of games. You like to think critically about games. You like to talk about games. And then something like this comes along. It blows up with casual audiences, and all of the things that like you thought you cared about with video games, nobody gives a shit with here. It's early access, who cares? It's a little busted, who cares? Is it creatively bankrupt in some aspects? Who cares? A lot of people don't care. I'm not saying that that makes it right, but it just shows that like you can't predict what people are going to like, and people are going to like what they're going to like. And again, that even comes down to me. My critical brain is screaming with a lot of this stuff, but I'm having so much fun. I leveled up the skill tree the other day to be able to give my little monkey Pokemon an AK-47. I got a grappling hook. I'm really proud of my new bases that I've built out, and I'm discovering more in the world, and I just keep going. They threw the kitchen sink at people with this game in terms of gameplay mechanics, and again, things that it takes from other games. And yeah. So if this video does sound like it's me like justifying why I like it, exactly. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just talking through the process here. I'm just yapping. I have no notes. So I am thankful if you did sit around here and listen to me kind of all over the place with my thoughts. But I just kind of wanted to dive into why I'm liking it, why other people are liking it, despite so many things going against it. Now, what I do think can be learned here is the lesson that a lot of other games have learned, games that have made bigger mistakes, like something like No Man's Sky. When that launched, that was, you know, expectations were sky high. The game did not meet them. The game was rough and just not a lot going on in it. But they took all that money that they made, and the net positive is that ultimately that got spun out into an incredible game. They put their money where their mouth is. They worked on it. I would really like to see that happen here. This game has broken all these records, so I think now they can figure out whatever copyright law shit that they may have screwed up with You know, depending on, like, I'm not a court, I'm not a copyright person, whatever. Figure that stuff out. Make the world more interesting. Make it a little less soulless, because I think that's the thing here, is that this can be a big viral hit, sell a million copies, but is there stuff in here that people are going to remember forever? Are people going to remember these creatures? Are people going to remember these factions or a location in this world? I don't think so, like, at all. And I think for some people, that's enough. But I think that this is something that, like, you can definitely maintain memory or hold on to memories if you played with some friends cooperatively and you fucked around in this weird, goofy, not Pokemon game and discovered stuff together and had some laughs and had some fun. But again, like, I hope the developers can double down on that, triple down on that, and really take this concept and run with it. Because again, I love the gameplay loop. I love catching monsters. There's technology, there's open world exploration, there's Ark survival evolved elements, there's a like Breath of the Wild climbing. There's so much here that I do like mesh together. So I just hope that they can really, really just go for it, especially because the developer does have a history of not totally supporting their games as much as people would hope. And, you know, a lot of their other games are not super great. So I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt here, that I hope that they have just gotten such an influx of money that things can really, really keep going and turn out awesome. More things to do in this world, a more cohesive through line, a bit more soul, a bit more life, and more stuff to do. They're going to add more islands, more multiplayer modes. I wish this game success, despite some of the missteps it may be taking. You can also tell people are really, really liking this game because they will go out of their way to defend it in some pretty crazy ways. Like I said at the start, I think it is fine. I think it is totally healthy to acknowledge problems with a game and still have fun with it. I have had people straight face tell me in comments and on social media and push back saying this game didn't rip off anything. Like I said at the start, plenty of games borrow things from other games and tweak things and stuff, but like with this, I don't know, they push it a little bit. So I'm just saying, like, we don't have to be weird about this one. And maybe some of you who are new here might hear me talking and just be like, who cares, dude, get over it. It's just a fun game. Play it, you idiot. Well, that's what I do. I just like to talk about this stuff, talk these things through. I find video games fascinating, and I have been absolutely fascinated by Palworld, a game that, again, as much as it's not a Pokemon clone, it's more of a survival game hybrid mashup. It's still ultimately a game where you can take a Pikachu or like an Electabuzz and give them a gun, which I said it when this game was initially revealed, and I'll say it now. I still think that's a great idea. And I think it's still early, but like, they are delivering on that promise. This game definitely isn't for everybody. And I'm probably going to move on to something else soon because that's just like my gaming habit. But I am looking forward to jumping into this a year from now, 2 years from now, and seeing how it goes. Again, all over the place with this one, wishy-washy, but I am enjoying my time. So I do want to hear from you guys in the comments. What do you think about this in terms of just the massive success it has? What do you think that says about the game industry, people's tastes, perceptions of video games, anything at all? Steam and early access and what early access is. Let's talk about this stuff. I definitely want to hear from you guys. There's some interesting conversation to be had, so I'd love to hear your nuances, even if you disagree with me. Comments like, the game's great, you just suck for talking too long, nerd, shut up. I ignore comments like that. So let me know. Let me know what you think. If you're new over here and you got this far, thank you. I'm just talking about stuff I love and stuff I find interesting. And then during the day, I do videos on game ranks for Before You Buy and the Friday news show. But thank you for stopping by. Let's talk in the comments. Social media, I'm on all those places, you know, but clicking the like button helps me. That's the only thing, really. But that's it. I'm Jake Baldino. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, because video games, pizza's on me.